Good afternoon, everyone. We're about to dive into about 60 minutes of yoga practice. My name is Adrienne. Welcome back, or hello if it's your first time meeting. Before I slide back to my mat, I'm going to give you a sec to go grab at least one pillow, maybe two if you have two, a blanket or a towel that you can fold up, which might be good to pad the knees or provide a little lift under the seat. And lastly, if you have blocks, whether they're foam or cork or just a stack of sturdy textbooks, grab those now. And you're welcome to grab a glass of water or something else that you like to drink when you're taking a break. And I will get back to the mat and we'll begin. So I'm going to start seated with my feet directly on the floor. If this is uncomfortable for you, you can put one of those pillows underneath the seat, give a little padding, and also let the hips release a bit by bringing them higher than your knees. Wherever you are, try to settle in, maybe rock side to side on the seat slightly. Feel some points of contact with the floor below. Close down the eyes or soften the gaze, let it go out of focus at least. Bow the head slightly, tucking the chin towards the chest. To the back of the neck. Lengthen out and guiding the head, neck, and shoulders to float over the position of the hips. Feel spine lengthen as well. Loosen up the shoulders first, shrug them up towards the ears, and then pull the shoulder blades together, middle of the back, and then pull the shoulder blades down. Feel that space underneath the ears, but above the shoulders enlarge. The hands rest somewhere in the lap, maybe on the knees or thighs. Palms can be face down or up. Just let the fingers and the palms be soft, however they are positioned. We wiggle the fingers as a reminder to loosen them up. Feel heavy in the elbows, heavy in the shoulders, but buoyant in the head. Again, lengthening the spine. So the tailbone roots and the crown of the head pulls up like you are straightening a coiled piece of string or something. Notice the chest gently rising and falling. Just making a mental note, a fleeting temporary note of what you observe. Is the breath shallow, ragged, deep, smooth, quick or slow? And like I said, a temporary fleeting note, and we will move on. There's no purpose in recording that or noticing that, except just to notice what's going on in the body. I'll take this opportunity of noticing. We'll take that act of noticing as an opportunity to jump into a duration of practice that we will just commit to being in for about 55 minutes. Find ourselves thinking ahead to the time beyond our time together on the mat. We find ourselves thinking back to occurrences before we were here. Let those times that you notice those fixations be a reminder just to come back. And you can come back by, again, noticing the breath. All right, you can keep the eyes closed as long as you want. But you can start swinging kind of side to side, keeping the hips anchored on the ground. And all we're doing is bring some movement into the spine, moving it laterally, kind of like you're a piece of seaweed tethered to a rock. The current is moving you. Introducing some movement and some mini stretches into the ribs and the spine. Keep the head bowed low, the chin tight to the chest. That'll keep the stretch in the back of the neck. Or you can start to bring the chin to neutral. I'm going to blink my eyes open again. Stop moving for a bit, extend the arms out and up, fingertips punch up towards the ceiling, extend the hands, spread the palms wide, gaze goes up to the ceiling. Feel the head, the shoulders, the spine all lift up out of the pelvis, which remains rooted through the tailbone to the ground. Pull the low belly in, see if you can engage those abdominal muscles, protecting the organs and giving you some vertical structure. Keep breathing in and out, but keep reaching up. And then we'll bring the hands down through center, in front of the heart. Release them again. Arms go out and up. Deep breath in, reach up. And this time exhale, let the hands float down and to the side. Let the left palm on the outside of the left hip. Right arm goes straight up. Bring a bend to that grounded left hand and start to lean to the left. Trying to keep the shoulders open, pulling the right shoulder back, pinching the shoulder blades together. And maybe your gaze goes up towards the right hand. Doesn't have to, it can go out to the side. It can also look down towards the grounded left hand. Notice whether your right hip came up away from the floor and see if you can bring some heaviness back into that right hip. As you breathe in, feel the right side ribs expand and inflate. And as you exhale, maybe you can push the floor away with that grounded left hand and push out, reach out through the right fingertips. Right upper arm is over the top of the right ear. Keep pulling that arm back in space. So your aperture, your range of view on either side of your face enlarges as you pull that right arm up and back. Take one more deep breath in, get long, reach out of the hip. And exhale, push yourself away from the left side floor, float up. Now we'll do right side. Right hand is grounded on fingertips or palms. Standing left arm directly overhead, heavy in both hips. Press the floor away with that grounded right hand. Extending and straightening the right arm. I'll start to bend the right elbow and lean on a diagonal to the right side. Again, pinching shoulder blades together, broaden the collarbones. Pulling the left shoulder back, widening the aperture, the amount of view side to side on either side of your eyes. Increasing your kind of peripheral vision between your arms. Reaching up, out through your fingertips and still trying to straighten the arm. Rotating the hand down and back. So the palm faces towards the back side of the room. Thumb points up. Pinky fingers down. You can wiggle the fingers if you like. Keep pressing the floor away right side. Maybe you even come up away from the floor. That's okay. Maybe take another breath. Feel those left ribs this time expand. Heaviness in the left side hip. Maybe gaze looks up under the right arm or the left armpit. Maybe looks up towards the left fingertips. One more breath. And on the exhale, push yourself away, right side hand, float up through center. Take the gaze over the left shoulder, just looking to the left side wall. And dip the chin, let the head bow through center. Gaze now rolls over to the right side, looking over right shoulder to the right side wall. Do that one more time. Dip the chin, roll the head through center, over to the left, and then lift the gaze. Chin is neutral. Now we're just looking over left side shoulder. And one more time. Dip the chin, gaze goes to right side shoulder. Feeling that left side neck stretch. All right, one more time. Head down through center. This time, pause at center. Lift the head straight up. Chin is neutral. We're going to place our palms behind us, underneath the shoulders. Fingertips point towards our hips. Feet are planted about hips width distance, and soles of the feet are on the mat. We're going to press the feet, press the hands into the floor, and then lift the hips up, coming into reverse tabletop. Chin remains tucked, working to straighten the arms, pulling shoulder blades together. Feeling the collarbones lift, the chest lift up towards the floor, out of the arms. You can pull the low belly in slightly. Feel the tailbone pointing forward and maybe slightly up. Engage the hamstrings, the glutes to lift the hips further up away from the floor. Keep pressing into the feet. One more breath in, a little higher, and release the hips down. Release the hands from the floor, drape them around the knees. Rock side to side. You can let the head bow forward, curving the whole spine. All right, we're actually going to come onto our knees now to kneeling. So here's where you might grab a blanket or a towel to place underneath the knees, just for some extra padding in case your knees are bony and your mat is not very thick or your floor is super hard. Any combination of those three. So we're going to start in a standing kneel, which just means shins and tops of the feet are on the floor. Look down at the knees. See that they are about hips width distance, right below the hips. Turn on those glutes again and push the hips forward. So we're lengthening the front side of the body, shortening the back side of the body. Roll the shoulders up and back. So chest is nice and broad. You might even kind of present the palms, fingertips forward. Gaze is neutral. Chin is parallel to the floor. We'll inhale, arms up overhead. Let those fingertips pull the front side of the body even taller and longer. Deep breath in, pulling the belly in, and knitting the low ribs together so we're kind of working against that low back curve. See if you can push the hips forward, pull the low ribs in, working to make our whole torso a little bit more vertical, pulling everything in towards the midline. One more breath in, get slightly taller. And then we'll sit back towards our heels in a seated kneel. So here we can put both sets of our fingertips behind us. Press the floor away, pull the shoulder blades together, and push the chest up. We have slight back bend. Chin is tucked. You can keep chin tucked like this, or you can start to lift the gaze to the ceiling, just to stretch out the front of the neck. Wiggle the jaw side to side, loosen that up. And then release the hands, give the thumbs a break, shake out the hands. You can do colorful circles with the wrists, one direction, and then moving to the other direction. All right, next, if you can, you'll step the hands behind you. This time the whole palm is on the floor. You're gonna have fingertips pointing back to start, and we'll do the same thing. So we've just lowered down. So now our wrists are on the floor, our whole palm is on the floor instead of the finger pads. Same action, press the floor away, feel that chest rise up as the arms straighten. Pull the shoulder blades together on the back to support the heart. And then pull the low belly in slightly. Chin is tucked. Or you can trace an arc up to the ceiling, allowing the head to tip back slightly. Take one more breath in. And exhale, if you have the head tip back gently, return the chin to the chest. Gently release up to the fingertips, and then rest the hands on the thighs. Let the head bow, the chin tucked towards the chest. Close down the eyes, couple breaths. All right. You can take that same variation again, or if you'd like to move on to something a little different, we're just going to, I'll just show you, but we'll do something different. So we're going to start with our left hand, our left fingertips planted behind us, a couple inches back. We're just going to inhale, right arm comes across the body, so it's pointing out towards the top left corner of the ceiling, and then we're just going to keep drawing that circle, so the arm ultimately comes back over to the right side of the head and is pointing back behind us, so the wall, the seam of the wall and the ceiling behind us, and then we'll return the right arm to the ground. All right, so we'll do that again, but on the left side. So now right fingertips stay on the floor. We release left hand and it's going to straighten and cross across the body, pointing to the right upper seam of the ceiling. And then we're going to continue with that arc, bringing it ahead of, or it's behind the head, and then over to the left side. So it's reaching straight back on the left side of the head. And keep rotating that arm down until fingertips come back towards the floor. All right, so we'll do a couple more cycles of that. So left hand grounded, right arm makes the cycle all the way around and behind us. And then we'll switch over to the left, same thing. Left arm goes up and around, finds the floor. So we're gradually opening up the shoulders, working through that outer rotation of the rotator cuff. And you can stay as heavy or as light as you like in the fingertips, or you can start to transfer back onto the more full contact of the palm of the floor. And the more you do this, the more you'll feel the loosening up in the shoulders, broadening up the chest, feel a little more fluid. It's almost like we're doing figure eights, one side at a time. So you can continue doing this, or if you like, you can start to lift the hips up away from the floor. Actually, let's do that together with both hands on the floor. So hands are more or less under the shoulders, where they can be a few steps back of the palm behind you. Toes are still pointed back, so we haven't changed the position of our knees or legs or anything yet. Tops of the feet on the floor, knees pointing forward. Our fingers rather are all pointing back behind us. Arms are straightening, we press out of the floor. Chest is nice and broad and floating, and we'll push the hips up. So it's like we're in a bridge pose, except our shins are on the floor and our shoulders are away from the floor. Usually in bridge, the shoulders are on the floor and the feet are on the floor and the shins are away. Okay, so we're just like on a little angle. So now the diagonal slope of our little bridge runs from our shoulders down to the knees. Press the full shin and the top of the feet down to the tops of the toes into the floor. Engage the glutes. Press those hips forward. Feel them lifting away. Press the whole palm into the floor. Straighten the arms. And lastly, maybe cinch the shoulder blades together. One more breath. Maybe you let the head dip back. And then return chin to chest. Lower hips down to the feet. Walk the hands in. Bring the torso upright. Shake out the arms. Let them rest on that. Open the thighs. Wiggle the fingers. Dip the chin down to the chest. Take a couple breaths in and out. Taking a moment to notice now the quality of your breath. See if you can enrich the quality of your breath. See if you can lengthen it, make it deeper, maybe a little smoother. And we have a little more experience watching it and using it actively at least. Elbows are nice and heavy. Use them as a weight to draw the shoulders down away from the ears. Belly is soft. Okay. Leave the eyes open if they were closed. Give the wrist a circle, one direction 3 times, and then reverse other direction. All right. You can do that same thing again if you like the static hold, or we can return to more fluid hold, but we're going to kind of make the full rotation this time. So we're going to have the fingertips pointing back, same as we did before. Gonna lift the hips up away from the floor. And now with the hips lifted, we're going to release right hand, let that draw the diagonal in the circle over to the left, crossing behind you. And then it finds the floor. You might have to bring the hips back down a little bit. It's okay. I guess try as best as you can to keep them high. It's not that important. We also don't want your knees screaming at all. So if your knees are hurting when you lift the hips away, don't do it. Keep them down. All right, we're not going to do this much longer. I know this is a lot to keep our legs in the same position for a while, especially in a compressed one like this. All right. So we'll do this a few more times. Lift the hips away if you're with me. Press the floor away. This time right hand starts grounded. Left hand crosses over to the right, behind you, over to the left, finds the floor. All right, so just finding that more fluid motion, bringing a larger range of motion so our shoulders can continue to open up, get acquainted with moving in a bigger circle this time, shifting our weight in and out of each wrist and palm. And maybe we're starting to feel quadricep muscles, the big muscles, and the legs turn on, starting to ache and burn. All right, do one more on each side. And then we will finish up. Let the head and neck stack over the hips. Tuck the chin, close down the eyes. Palms rest on the thighs. Deep breath in through the nose. Pull it down to the belly, hold it in. And then exhale, sighing out the mouth. So 2 more times. Inhale through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. Once more. Inhale. And let it go. All right, gently come forward onto hands and knees. You might want to tap out the tops of your feet. And we'll have our knees about under our hips and our palms under our shoulders. Each are the distance of what is on top of it. So hands are about as wide as your shoulders, knees are about as wide as your hips. Okay, we're going to dip the belly, send the hips up, send the head up for our cow. And our exhale will curve the spine opposite direction, up to the ceiling, tailbone and head point down, arms straighten. Inhale for cow. Exhale for cat. Inhale for cat. Exhale for cat. Into your neutral spine. We're going to keep left shin grounded. Send right foot directly back. Take a couple circles with your ankle. One direction and then the other. So our hip and our knee and the tops of our feet are pointing down towards the floor. So hips are square down towards the floor. And pull up through the low belly. Pull up in the back of the right leg. Engage that hamstring. Pull the whole leg up. Press the floor away through your straightening arms. Elbow points are pointing forward. Middle fingers pointing forward. Fingertips are spread. You're pulling or you're pointing out of your right toe. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, curve the spine out towards the ceiling like cat. Pulling the knee of the right leg towards your forehead or your knee or your chin. Underneath you, keep pressing the floor away. Inhale, extend the leg back behind. Let your spine get long. And exhale, curve everything together under the torso. Inhale, leg is long, spine is long. Exhale, crunch. Knee to nose. Inhale, spine is long, leg is long. Exhale, knee to nose. One more time. Inhale, long leg, long spine. Exhale, knee to nose. Hold it. Look forward between the hands and see if you can step that foot between the two grounded fingertips. Two grounded sets of fingertips. We'll pull the hips back, straightening your right leg, and pull the toes back towards the face. Pull that right hip back. Pull the low belly in. If you have blocks, you might put the hands on them. Bring the floor closer to your face. Deep breath to straighten the spine. Straighten that right leg. Bring some length into the back of it. Gaze is neutral, but on the floor ahead of you. And then curve the spine and the head down towards that. Straighten the right leg. Staying heavy in the upper body. Keep pulling the right hip back. Maybe digging that right heel into the floor. At the same time, pulling the left hip forward. Digging the left knee and shin into the floor. All right, shifting forward onto the right foot, coming into the low lunge. Back leg is either straightening or stays more in a right angle, like so. Again, if you have blocks, this is a great time to use them. Just breathing in and out, letting the hips be heavy as we open up the left side hip flexor. Left knee still points down towards the floor. See if you can bring the top of the left foot on the floor as well. Have flexibility on the top side of your foot and your ankle. I'm going to tuck the toe, the left side. Straighten that left leg. Left knee rises away from the floor. Put our weight in our left hand on the ground and we'll sweep the right arm directly up overhead, twisting to the right. Keep pulling right hip back, sending left hip forward, squeezing the legs together. Push the floor away, stack the right shoulder over left, pulling up through the right fingertips. Gaze can go up towards the fingertips and ceiling, or can stay down or to the side. One more breath, open up the collarbones, pinch the shoulder blades, and cycle that right arm back down. We're going to shift to send our toes to point parallel. So get view of my butt for a bit, but we will walk those hands underneath the shoulders, straightening the back for a moment. Pull the shoulders away from the ears. Pull the low belly in. See if you can send a little weight back into the heels. And then send the weight forward into the toes. Pull up out of the arches. So engage the inner edges of your feet. See if you can roll a little bit of foot contact onto the outer edges, the pinky toe edges of your feet instead of the inner edges. Maybe those arches will lift away from the floor. Pull the kneecaps up. Feel the full range of muscles in the legs engage. And then lower the head towards the floor. Or wide-legged forward fold. You can grab those blocks if you have them. Again, bringing the floor closer to your hands. Or if your hands are finding the floor on their own, unassisted, let them be heavy. Wherever you are, let the head be heavy. Let it be a counterweight to the hips. So as your head draws your neck and your spine down closer to the floor and straightening the spine, your hips go up. Again, playing with balance. Maybe you shift a little weight back towards the heels and then forward into the toes. Again, lift out of the arches, out of the inner line of the feet. Shift and weight into the outer edges of the feet instead.
Pull up in the kneecaps. A couple more breaths. All right, we'll walk the hands underneath the shoulders. Take a breath to lengthen the spine. Keep sending the hips back. And then we're going to walk over towards our left foot. Send the left foot to point to the other end of our mat for our new forward. And rotate up onto the ball of our right foot. And we'll lower right knee down to the mat. So now we are on the other side for our low lunge. Before we pause here, we're going to send the hips back over the right knee now, straightening the left leg, pulling the left hip back, and lengthening out the whole left side, left back side of the left leg. Pulling the toes back towards the face. And if you have blocks, maybe you find them. Take a deep breath, send the right hip forward, pull the left leg back, or left hip back, lengthening the spine as much as you can. And then drape the head towards somewhere on that straightening left leg. Let the head be heavy to lengthen the back of the neck. Keep pushing your right hip forward, pulling left hip back. Another breath. And then we'll guide ourselves forward to that low lunge. So this time, right hip and right hip flexor, stretching, oriented down towards the floor. Letting our hips be heavy. We can allow the upper back to curve. And then we'll tuck the back toes, lift right knee away from the floor, engage the muscles of both legs, create that strong base, pull right hip back, send left hip forward, pull left hip back, send right hip forward. Plant your right palm on the floor this time, left arm, twist open, press the floor away with your right palm, let the left fingers lift that whole line from your right fingers to your left fingers, across the chest. Pulling right hip back, sending left hip forward, squeezing the legs together. Pull the low belly in, maybe you can rotate a little bit more. The gaze is either up towards the hands, up to the side, down to the floor, whatever. One more breath, and then rotate left hand down to the mat once more. All right, I didn't have you do, let's see, how did we start out? We did, I can't remember. I know I forgot something, and we're not even, but we are going to step our right foot up to meet the left, and our forward fold. Let the head be heavy, let the hips go up towards the ceiling. Working to straighten the legs. And while we are working to straighten out the legs, we are really just working to lengthen the backs of them. Don't lock out the knees. If you are able to straighten them, just a slight bend. Baby bend, demi bend. Fingertips be soft, whether they are grazing the floor or not. Wiggle the jaw. Couple breaths in and out. And then press the whole sole foot into the floor, bend the knees, and roll the whole body up. Shrug the shoulders up, and roll them together and down the back. Chest is broad, collarbones spread. Couple breaths here in mountain pose. Heavy in the tailbone. Your shoulders are forward, see if you can guide them back so they're more in line to hover over the hips. All right, we'll do a couple of standing postures, starting with tree pose. So we'll round the left foot. You pull all 5
toes up away from the floor. So flex the toes up towards your face, keeping the heel and the middle of the foot down on the floor. And then place each one down again. You can kind of grip the toes, feel that contact. One more. I'm going to shift the weight into that nice and rooted left foot. Let the right foot float away. Let me give it a little kick. And then hips are both pointing forward. Just going to draw the knee up so your thigh comes parallel with the floor. And keep the inner line of your right foot connected to your left standing leg if you like. It's not necessary. You can let it hang loose if you like. Slow more engagement if you keep it tethered. Inhale, both arms up. Press out of that left foot. Pull the left knee up towards the face. Pull the right hip down because it's going to want to float up and out. Pull it down. Take a deep breath in, get long. And exhale, we're just going to extend your right foot back behind you. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see it a little bit. All right, so we went from here. We're just going to pass the knee down so it's more parallel next to the other knee on the standing leg. And then we're going to let it pass behind us. So sole of our foot starting to go up towards the floor. Just like we're kicking our butt with one straight leg. And then we're going to start to tilt the chest down towards the floor. Arms can stay extended out or come in towards the chest. Or you can stay on the hips, out to the side, whatever. And then you're going to gradually kick out through that right heel, toes face down. Just like, I remembered what I missed. It's just like in that knee to nose posture while we're extending out through our right leg because we didn't do that. Deep breath, pulls fingertips away from the heel and pulls heel away from the fingertips. Maybe get a little shake. And then tilt upwards. If you can, bring that thigh back to parallel with the knee in front. And then release everything down to the floor. We'll go to the other side. So this time we're going to shift all the weight into our right foot. Pull up all the toes, flexing them towards the face, and then gently place each one back down on the ground. We'll float the left foot away, give it a kick. Get used to that. And then we're going to pull the knee up, left side, left thigh is parallel to the floor. And you can have the left foot hanging out, or you can tie it to the inside of your right foot, right thigh. Pull the left hip down. Both hips are squaring and facing forward. Push into that standing foot. Pull the right kneecap up towards the face. Extending all the arms, both the arms up towards the ceiling. Get long through the front of the body. Deep breath in, fingertips pull up out of the foot, but stamp that foot down into the ground. All right, you can keep arms up overhead, or you can bring them to the hips. You're going to start to bring your knees in line. So you're kicking left foot behind you. And then you're going to slowly send left knee past the line of your standing leg and start to tilt the chest forward towards parallel with the floor. You're going to kick through that left heel and gradually straighten your floating left leg. Toes and hip on the left leg point down. Keep pressing into that grounded foot on the right side. Can extend arms forward. If you're doing that, feel like the inhale pulls the fingertips forward and kicks out long through that floating left foot. Pull in through the belly. Take one more breath. And then we'll come up, pendulum swings up towards upright, pull left thigh back towards parallel. And then we'll shake it out, kick out either leg, but especially your standing leg. All right, we're going to come down into a little squat. So let your feet be a little bit wider than your hips, toes pointing out, heels are in. And you're going to send your hips down and back so your elbows come in between your knees, in front of your knees. You can grab a block and let it sit underneath your bum. If you want to take a seat, or you can stay with the seat floating away from the floor. Knees press into the inner thighs. Hands press into one another. Take some neck rolls with the head. One direction and then the other. Slowly. Feel heavy in the seat. Let the action of the elbows pressing into the thighs remind you to use the strength of your outer hips to pull the knees back. Pull the low belly in, and as your seat is heavy like an anchor, feel buoyant in the top of the head. So just working to straighten that coiled string that is your spine, theoretically, not actually, just a visual. And then we'll place the hands towards the floor, send your heels back, toes forward, straighten the legs, forward fold. Bend into one leg while keeping the other straight, and then swap it out. Straighten one leg and then the other. Take that a couple times. And if you send the hips over towards that side, the bent knee side, you'll get a nice stretch on the inner line of the leg, on that straight leg. It's like you're wagging the hips. Whereas if you keep the hips more in line with the center and send the hips back and the knee forward as you bend them, you'll get it more on the back and outer line of the straight leg. All right, press into the feet, sweep yourself up, arms up, and flip them down by the side. All right, I'm gonna have feet both pointing forward. We're gonna take a step back, right foot. Get some space between the 2 feet. You're gonna have your right toes pointing out at an angle, heel right and back, left toes pointing forward. And we're going to swing the arms up, and exhale, fold pyramid pose over the front leg, left leg. Great place to grab blocks. All we're doing is a nice stretch on the front and outer side and back side, all sides of your left leg. Pull the left hip back, send the right hip forward, press into the outer edge of that back right foot. Lift up out of your arches on both sides, pull the kneecaps up towards the face, and let yourself fall towards the left leg. Look down towards the floor. Then we're going to bring a bend into the left knee. Plant the left palm on the inside of your left foot. You might walk the back, wiggle that back toe back a little bit. And we'll just open up, right palm floats over left, which is grounded. So you have right shoulder over left. Press out through the outside edge of your right foot behind you. Feel that right hip opening up. And if the floor is very far away, which is very expected, put a block underneath this left hand. Pull the shoulder blades together on the back. Also come up onto fingertips. See if you can bring more bend into the left knee. Maybe you swing right arm down and over. So the right upper arm rests over the right ear, peeking up under the right armpit. And then we will ground that right hand. Scoot your right foot or your left foot over. So both your hands are underneath each shoulder. Back toes are tucked under now. That's your right toe. And we're gonna release the right knee down to the ground, stopping through dragon or lizard pose. So chest and shoulders point forward, hips point to the floor. Back toes can be tucked if you like, or you can rest the top of the foot on the ground.
You can stay here. You can find blocks if you want a little bit extra height. You can also relax down onto the blocks, onto forearms, or onto the floor. See if you can keep the back of the neck long and loose wherever you are. So instead of looking forward, where you have a curve in the back of the neck up towards the ceiling, see if you can neutralize that. So we just have a long extension of the whole spine out through the neck. And on the other hand, see if you can prevent your neck from dropping down and curving the opposite direction. All right, so we're just supporting the head and the neck enough to keep it as an extension of the spine. Let the hips be super heavy. And also grab, if you have one of those pillows nearby, a little bit of relief on the right side hip facing the ground. You can also stack mini pillows underneath. So while you're letting your hip be heavy, you're also bringing the floor closer to it. All right, so you're not just under assault by gravity. See if you can soften the eyes, soften the jaw. It's a very sensational position, but if we can find a little bit of softness, you'll get a little relief. Bring your attention to the breathing. See if we can make it more gentle. See if we can resist the sensation a little less. Resist the resisting, I guess is what I mean to say. Give into, surrender to. And after about 5 long, chill breaths, prop ourselves back up onto our bums. Retuck the back toe. I'm going to straighten both legs, sending the hips up and back so we get a nice wide extended pyramid. And we can let the hips be kind of open, letting that left hip actually go out so we don't have that nice perfect boxed alignment. It's not as big a deal. I'm just trying to wake the hips back up. And then step left or your right foot forward. Find a momentary wide-legged forward fold. Move the pillow out of the way if you have it. And just roll up to standing. We'll quickly go to the other side. So we're going to keep our right toes pointing up. I'm actually going to change directions. But yeah, right toes pointing forward. Step the left foot back. Left toes point out at a slight diagonal. I'm going to straighten the back leg, straighten the front leg. Roll those hips to face forward. Inhaling arms up, so we got a nice stretch through the whole left hip flexor. Pull the kneecaps up towards the face, engage those leg muscles. And then sending hips back, tilt the spine, stopping it parallel. And then let the fingers graze the floor. Find those blocks if you like. And let gravity pull the head, neck and shoulders down towards the leg. Pull the right hip back, send the left hip forward. Woo. Pyramid on the other side. Experiment with pulling the low belly in, straightening the spine forward, and then relaxing. Couple more breaths here. All right, look forward, bend into the right knee. And we're going to stamp our right hand on the inside of the right hand. We're going to bring our left heel down to the floor. Straighten through that left leg. So we still have the left toes at a diagonal, left heel back. And we'll extend left hand up overhead for side angle. Get a generous bend in our right knee. super straight and engaged in our left leg. Trying to put more weight into the outer edge, pinky toe edge of the foot. So like you're trying to grip the floor with that side of the left foot. Can drop some blocks underneath you here. Come on to fingertips. That's your right hand on the ground. Maybe gaze goes up towards the fingertips. And then maybe rotate that left arm down towards the floor. Thumb points up towards the ceiling. Continue until the left upper arm rests floating above the left ear. Lower the hips a little bit lower, bending into the right knee. And then both arms, or both hands find the floor. Come up onto the ball of the left foot, so both knees and both hips face the floor. Both hands are on the inside of the right foot. Release your left knee to the ground, top of left foot to the ground. Coming through lizard. And stay up, straight arms, palms on the ground or on blocks. Or you can come down onto forearms, either on the ground or on blocks. Wherever you are, see if you can keep the neutral position of the neck, but it is supported because we're not letting gravity pull the head down. And we're also not looking up and curving to the top of the neck. Again, might feel really nice. Slide a pillow underneath the left side hip now. Just a little support. And let that hip be super heavy. Close down the eyes. Pull the shoulders away from the ears. Loosen the jaw. Bring your attention back to your breathing. Belly be soft. Lengthen and smooth the breath if you can. And after 5 long breaths, walk back up onto the hands, with the eyes open. Tuck the back toes, raise that foot away from the floor, straighten both legs. Shifting back into kind of a lazy pyramid, just straighten the legs again. And walk the hands out to your left side, off the mat, turn both toes parallel to face that left side. Come up on the fingertips, they're under the shoulders, lengthen the spine along, send the hips back. Fold forward for one more wide-legged forward fold. And then we'll heel toe, feet towards one another. Bend the knees, send the hips down and back, and we'll come to seated. We'll roll just down to rest on our backs. Pull the knees into the chest, close on the eyes, rock side to side. Extend the arms long out in a T, one on either side of the torso, and let the bent legs fall over to the right. So rolling onto our right hip, trying to keep heavy in our left shoulder. Maybe the gaze turns over to look towards the left hand. Gentle twist on the right side. Attention back to the breath. Feel it pumping and relaxing. Gaze goes back up to the ceiling. Pull the knees to float over the hips. Pull them into the chest and then let them fall over to the left, rolling onto the left hip. Let that right shoulder be heavy this time. Pulling both back down to the floor, gaze goes over to the right. Twisting the left side. slowing and smoothing the breath. Just watching it ebb and flow. Gaze up to the ceiling, knees up to the ceiling. Wrap the arms around the legs one more time. Pull the chin up to the knee. And then relax the head, neck, and shoulders back down. Release the feet down to the floor. And walk them out to the widest width of your mat. Let the knees knock in. Arms can float, palms facing up on either side of you. Or they can rest on your chest, your belly, or both. You can also walk the feet into meet, allowing the knees to go wide. To recline cobbler pose. If this is a bit too much for you to relax in, you can slide pillows under each thigh, each hip. Or just want to kick the legs out straight. Good old-fashioned corpse pose, Shavasana. You can do that too. Let the backs of the hands be heavy, the elbows, the shoulders. Notice the hips. Anchor to the floor below. The belly be soft. Just notice it and the chest rising and falling with each breath in and out. The palms and fingers grow soft. Toes roll out. Face slacken. As if you're erasing all the lines, all the furrowing. The lips part. Take a deep breath in, hold for a moment, and then sigh out. Release the body down into the floor. And just rest. Stay here in Shavasana for several more moments. Noticing the breath, staying reclined, staying heavy and relaxed in the body. Just continuing to watch each breath enter and exit.